All right, 25 minutes before 11 o'clock. Nice looking day out there. Two handsome young men in the studio. Brandon Wood is here and Greg Schmidbauer is here. They're both here from Climate Control Mechanical Services. You know, I was thinking about this not too long ago, maybe in the 1800s. The only thing we did to the air was heat it. We didn't even know how to cool it down, right? Not only do we cool it down now and heat it, but we also clean it up. And then not only do we clean it up, we can remove moisture or add moisture, all kinds of things. And it's just amazing the things we've learned since we started doing this program with Climate Control Mechanical Services. If you have a question during the course of this show, please feel free to call in. They actually sponsor this phone number. It's the WOCA Climate Control Source Hotline, 352-622-9622. And I think today we're talking about what we can do to protect what we have invested in, especially when it comes to the storms, etc. So let me turn around so I'm not so rude anymore. Brandon and Greg, good morning, guys.
Good morning, how are you?
Good. How was everything?
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And what you mentioned earlier is actually, I was just thinking about that, about cleaning the air and conditioning the air. And I was thinking about how concerned people are with buying bottled water and not drinking the water out of their tap.
That's right, too.
With the air, it comes basically the same thing.
And you think about what we used to do to the air. All we really could do once upon was heat it. If it was hot, you had to deal with the heat, right? I guess you could open the window.
There's definitely a lot more options involved.
So actually your name, not your personal names, but your business name, Climate Control, in the confines of our walls, we really can control the climate, can't we?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Temperature, humidity, everything.
And I guess it depends on how fragile our systems, our bodies are to the air, to the extent. I mean, if you're perfectly healthy, you probably can run around. It doesn't matter what's going on. But if you got a breathing condition, maybe somebody who's elderly or whatever, or sick.
Or even on blood thinners, we run into that a lot too,
Really?
where one person is and one isn't. So trying to keep the house comfortable for those types of situations as well.
Oh, wow. Does it feel different to the person on the blood thinner?
Yeah, they feel much cooler.
Really? I never knew that.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. You know, when you donate blood next door at Life South, you feel a little bit colder. Have you guys ever experienced that?
I haven't. Go ahead.
I have, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little different, especially if they take more than one bag. I've had them take 2 bags at once.
And then you get cold, yeah.
Yeah, and it was in my younger days. I was a little less weight, and I know the smaller person you are, like, they won't take anybody less than 100 pounds.
Uh-huh.
I was certainly over that, but I had a little bit of a, you almost get tired because you're basically removing the oxygen from your body.
Yeah, right. Do you do that at all? Do you add oxygen to some? Is there a device that does that? That actually pumps oxygen into somebody's house?
We don't do that. Obviously, there'd be a flammability issue there.
Oh,
but I know that
right.
there are, I think, aren't there clubs and things where they actually do that? That's supposed to sharpen your cognizance. And
There is, they actually have bars and clubs that they're called like oxygen bars and O2 bars. They
Really?
actually pump the air full of oxygen because we don't breathe 100% oxygen.
Right.
Oxygen outside is only about 75–80%. The rest of it's made up of hydrogen, helium. But when you're breathing 100% oxygen, I know from scuba diving that it's like a head rush. But there are certain people with medical conditions I've seen where companies out there actually specialize in air scrubbing, where they actually put very, very sophisticated systems in to either raise the oxygen levels in the home or go even above and beyond what UV systems can do.
That's fascinating. We do have a phone call, so let's go to the phone call, and then later on, let's find out what we can do to protect with surge protectors. I think that was the topic for today, wasn't it? I think that's what you sent, Greg, right? All right, good morning. Thank you for calling. You're on the air now.
Yes, good morning, everybody.
Morning.
I had a question about, I've heard over the years, and I'm not really clear on it. When an air conditioner is running, and it makes you feel cooler, that I've heard that it's not actually cooling the air down. What it's doing is removing the heat. How exactly does that work?
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. That's exactly what it's doing. As the air moves across your evaporator coil, the refrigerant in the coil is actually taking heat out of the air and boiling the refrigerant. That's how it's removed from the home, and then it's circulated outside and vented out. If you put your hand above your condenser, you'll feel the warm air coming out. So that's actually correct, and that's how it does it. It actually removes heat from the air.
Okay, well, that answered that one then.
Along with humidity as well.
Correct.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you very much, and you all have a good day.
You as
You're
well.
welcome.
Right. Bye bye.
Yeah, I think cool is the absence of heat, just as dark is the absence of light, right?
Correct.
Not the other way around.
Right.
So tell me about storms. We're hard to believe already the 11th day of April. I think the first day of hurricane season is June 1st. Am I right, or is it May 1st?
Thought it was June 1st.
I believe it's June 1st, but it seems like they've been... I remember storms coming in as late as October, and it seems like the end of it's supposed to be September 1st,
Yeah,
but
right.
they were...
Yeah.
Storms come in when they want to come in.
That's
so.
right. There's one coming in now. I mean, I
Yeah.
was just looking at the Weather Channel over Greg's head, and there's a line of storms coming in, and thunderstorms have lightning. Lightning is the problem, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. The surges on systems is very hard on systems, especially a lot of the newer systems out there using a lot more printed circuit boards in the systems. They're more computerized now,
Yeah.
and anything that has to do with printed circuit boards and electronics, they barely like... I mean, I even have to wear a special static electricity strap and ground myself.
Really?
Yeah, for actually replacing some PC boards, because static electricity can actually fry the board.
Oh my goodness.
If I had too much static electricity going across my body, I could cook a board
Oh,
that's
wow.
brand new out of the box.
Oh, you're
which
not
is-
protecting yourself. You're protecting the equipment.
Exactly.
Oh wow.
That way it grounds. A strap goes on my wrist, and I hook the wire up to a ground, and it automatically feeds the static electricity off my body straight to ground, so it doesn't feed into the board.
So it doesn't take much.
No, it doesn't.
If it's coming out of your body, then it must not be. It doesn't take much. So help me understand the surge protector for an air conditioner, because we all understand them like for the computers, but I don't plug my air conditioner in. It's kind of hardwired or something. How do you do that?
Well, we'd install it actually in the electrical panel or at the unit, and they'll protect it up to 100,000 amps. And your average lightning strike, I think, is around 30,000 amps. So
Wow.
it really provides some protection for you.
Oh wow, you just sold me. So I mean, this is what I do. I turn off the air conditioner, and I've often thought, what? How could that possibly do any good? That's like turning off the refrigerator. The thing's still plugged in, you know.
Exactly. The bottom line is it's still hardwired to your panel.
Yeah.
And we put in hardwired surge protectors, and that's exactly what they are, to prevent surges. If you get hit by a direct strike of lightning, and it literally puts a hole in the side of your condenser, there's not much you can do to protect against that. A bolt of lightning is one of the most powerful things on Earth. So they do exactly what they're implied, surges. When lightning strikes a mile or two away and the whole entire neighborhood has a real fast either power spike or a complete blackout for a couple seconds, it makes sure that it conditions the electricity flowing to the equipment. That way it doesn't blow anything up.
We do have another phone call, and I have a story to tell you, a horror story from Long Island regarding that exact scenario. Good morning, you're on the air.
Hey, good morning, guys.
Morning.
The AC disconnect from my compressor has two small surge protectors about the size of a tennis ball or something mounted to the AC disconnect right there at the compressor. But, I mean, being as components are so much more sensitive, do you guys drive any additional ground rods near the devices before you finish the job up? I'll hang up and get the answer.
I'll let you field that one, Brandon.
The equipment is essentially already connected to your main ground rod in the house, because the equipment is grounded by a ground wire that's in that disconnect box. And essentially that wire goes from the lugs from the disconnect all the way to the lugs on your main panel, and from your main panel, one main ground strap goes to the main ground bar. So essentially, yes, every system, even without surge protectors, is grounded appropriately.
So the surge protector you install is exclusively for the air conditioning unit,
Yes.
right? Okay.
Yes.
It sounds like I'd like to have that for everything in my house.
Well, we'll set you up.
Could you actually do that? I mean, could you actually set the entire like a circuit breaker box with it, or?
You can get whole house surge protectors that would actually feed into the incoming line into your main panel. those are a lot larger systems. Mostly what we provide is a surge protector that would go on each breaker, so you would essentially need 2 of them. If you have 2 breakers, one for your indoor unit, one for your outdoor unit, you put a surge protector on each one of those breakers. That way it's protecting whatever circuit is on that breaker. And we do it directly at the panel. That way, wherever the surge comes in, if it flows through that breaker, it's going to be protected.
Right. And let me tell you my horror story from Long Island. Long Island in New York is what I mean, not the one in the Caribbean. When Hurricane Sandy went through there, last year sometime?
Yeah.
The electricity was out for a long time. When the electricity was restored, a couple of houses burned down. Because when they turned the electricity back on, I don't understand it, but you guys probably do, all of a sudden something happened with that sudden surge that caused something that was probably getting ready to go anyway to go. And I was thinking, wow, I never knew that could happen. I mean, I knew that you could burn out a TV or an appliance, but I never knew it would actually burn down, get to the point where it started a fire.
Yeah. And I know there were a lot of open gas lines as well when that power came back on. I mean, if you looked at the, footage from that, you could actually see the gas bubbling underneath the water. Yeah, it was terrible.
And I grew up in hurricane country down in Naples. I went through Andrew in '92. And when generators first started getting popular, people used to just plug them right into their dryer outlet and basically backfeed their electrical system.
Oh.
But the only problem with that was they didn't shut off their main breaker. So when the linemen came out to fix their power lines, thinking the power was off, people would actually be feeding those power lines with their own personal generators. So now generators have come a long way with their technology, and they're a lot better equipped with emergency transfer switches, where when the power goes out, it automatically transfers to the generator and makes sure it actually cuts off the power to the main line. That way it comes on. And there's actually components that go into your system when you do have a generator. Bigger what's called hard start kits. They don't put a strain on the system when that generator comes on.
It's good to know all of the things that we've learned from you guys over the past weeks. Here's what I'm thinking. If somebody's thinking about just redoing their whole system, it's good to know all these things, because it sounds like it's like an itemized thing. Like, I'm going to go to the store and I'm going to order the air conditioner, obviously, the surge protector from today's show, the ultraviolet light from another previous show, the other things that you've talked about. Would it make sense to order it all as one, or is it easier? Or is it doesn't make any difference, I should say?
It makes a lot more sense to do it all at once.
It does,
when you do the installation. And one thing Brandon wanted to touch on today were safety switches for your drain line, because we know a lot of people are going back up north now. So if you want to touch base on that.
Oh, we deal with a lot of seasonal snowbirds, Florida in general, or anywhere you're at in Florida. And now's the time of year when a lot of them are going back up north. Safety switches are actually installed in the drain line. Now some units the drain line comes from the indoor unit, and that's essentially the humidity that comes off your coil that Greg was talking about, pulls that humidity out of the air and drains out, usually outside by the condenser. Now units that are in a garage, or say in a ceiling, anywhere the unit is located, if that drain line backs up and you're gone up north over the summer, if you don't have a drain safety switch that would shut the unit down, then that water just keeps flooding everywhere. And I've seen thousands of dollars worth of damage from units that were, say, up in the attic that completely flooded the ceiling, the drywall came down.
Wood flooring.
It makes a big mess. And for a very, very inexpensive, simple drain switch that goes in line, it's a mechanical float switch. When the float rises, when the drain backs up, it actually, you can wire it to shut down the whole system or just the condenser outside. As long as the system's not producing the water anymore, that's what's important.
Really? Do you guys go to Citrus County?
Citrus?
Citrus,
yeah. We do some in Citrus,
yeah.
Here's what I'm asking. I'm not a snowbird, but my mom's house is right now empty because she passed away. And while we're waiting for it to sell, I keep the air conditioner on, and there's nobody there. I mean, I go there once a week, but in the course of a week, that very scenario could happen.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's something super important to have.
Especially now that it's getting warm out.
And it's actually required by code now. When we get our systems inspected, it's one of the things on my quality control inspection checklist to make sure they have a safety switch. But that just came into play just a couple years ago. So many systems that I've seen installed don't have these safety switches. And like I said, for the inexpensive cost of one, it seems almost every customer that I tell about it, they simply didn't know it existed. So as soon as I tell them that we have something like that, they instantly say, yeah, I want one, even if it's just for peace of mind, to say, if my drain line does back up,
right,
I know my system will shut down.
Now, have you had a call where somebody's air conditioner is not working and you show up and you say, oh, it's just your drain line switch? Does that happen? People just don't know that's...
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Really?
And I think that reiterates the importance of maintenance agreements. That's one of the huge parts of a maintenance agreement, is keeping that drain line clear. The homeowner can only do so much. On some systems, they have a T in it where they can actually pour bleach down the line. Other systems don't have drain lines that are that accessible. So the drain line should be vacuumed and flushed out at least once a year, because the algae growth that grows in the drain line just is something that cannot be prevented. It's cold water going through a hot line that's outside. So it's automatic. It's, I mean, the perfect breeding grounds for algae. And yes, they get so clogged up that if it shuts down that drain switch, I've gone there and that's all that's wrong with the system.
Oh,
the drain line's clogged.
Oh my goodness.
And it can be an expensive, that's an expensive, it's what I call one of the nuisance calls. It's the equivalent of having a breaker off, kind of. It's basically from not having your system checked regularly.
Oh my goodness. So obviously the cost of a switch is way better than the expense of damage caused by the accumulating flood.
Orders of magnitude less, absolutely. Because I've seen some terrible things happen when people were up north. I mean, I know a particular customer that had put down like $11,000 worth of hardwood flooring.
Holy mackerel.
And the system had never been serviced. The house hadn't been serviced in 9 years, and it backed up into the house and probably cupped 2/3 of it. It all had to be replaced. I mean, they were just heartbroken, and I felt awful, but a simple drain switch and a simple maintenance would have just saved that nightmare.
I'm guessing that the cost for the surge protection stuff that you were talking about earlier also is less than the amount it would cost to fix something that doesn't have a surge protector.
Absolutely.
In most cases, because unfortunately the surges are what takes out the most expensive parts. Those PC boards in the system, those parts are all very expensive, or can be very expensive. So yes, the surge protectors usually also come with warranties. I believe the ones we have, they come with a certain amount of warranty to them, where if you do lose a part and it was surge protected with a certain type of surge protector, then the company that makes that surge protector will actually cover it, like an insurance policy.
Yeah, it's $1,000 per incident up to $10,000.
Oh, wow, that's great. Greg Schmidbauer and Brandon Wood are in the studio from Climate Control Mechanical Services. The phone line is open. We do have a call right now, but if you'd like to call and be on the show, the number is the WOCA Climate Control Source Hotline. 352 is the area code if you're out of the area, and then 622 WOCA. Good morning, you're on the air. I guess they didn't want to be on the air. All right, let me go to the other one. Good morning, you're on the air.
Yeah, over here.
Yeah.
Hi, you guys.
Hey, how you doing?
Very good. See, now on that drain, the water drain on your air conditioning unit there, is there anything that the homeowner can do, maybe every other 2 or 3 months or whatever, to keep that from plugging up, rather than having what you call a nuisance call?
At that drain line, there should be a cap that you can unscrew at the air handler.
Yes.
And I'd recommend pouring at least a half gallon of warm water down there per month.
Just plain water?
That's what I recommend, yes.
Okay.
It's more a volume thing, really, to get the water flowing through that, and then walking outside and confirming that it's draining out.
Yeah. And should that be done even when it's not running during the winter months?
Even more so.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay,
because the water's
good.
Stagnant at that point, and you're really not removing moisture, so it's just sitting there.
Oh, very good. Oh, there's no need to put like a hose on it for pressure or nothing. Just pour water down, and by gravity it'll go right out.
Yeah, you just want to pour it down, because if you do put a hose on it, and for some reason the water does pass, a clog that's in there, it may clog itself back up. You want to make sure that gravity naturally flows.
Okay, well, very good. I'll do that every couple of months to prevent that problem, which I had in the past. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
I had that problem too. I had a wet carpet all the time. I kind of wish I knew you guys back then. Then I would have had the answer right there in front of me, right? And so it sounds like it's a pretty simple maintenance thing, and a maintenance contract would even take it out of my hands and allow somebody who knows what they're doing to do it.
Absolutely, and it should be professionally cleaned out once a year, if not twice. And then if the homeowner, just keeps an empty milk jug and a funnel out at their unit and pour that water down there once a month, it'll really help and go a long way.
Just talk real quickly. I don't know if this is superficial or not, but when you talk about the cleanliness of an air conditioning unit, some air conditioners have almost looks like a garbage pail. I don't have one of these, but it's got like a garbage pail lid that lifts up and comes down. Have you ever seen these things?
Oh yeah.
What is that worth it? What does it do? How does it work?
It's actually a leaf guard.
Okay.
We have a lot of live oaks in Ocala and the surrounding areas, and I find some systems get a lot of dead vegetation build up in the bottom of the condensing unit. And in the summertime, what that vegetation does is hold water, it holds moisture, it plugs the drain lines of the unit for the rainwater to drain out of it, and essentially will rot out the bottom of the unit, can rot out condenser coils. I've seen where it rots out whole the bottoms of compressors.
Oh, wow.
So it is important to keep the bottom of that unit cleaned out.
Yeah.
The manufacturing companies actually make special screen guards. I've seen homeowners build chicken wire cages that go over top. The important thing is that you just don't block the airflow going out of there. Don't put a piece of plywood on top of your unit. That will
that wouldn't
that's
work.
really bad.
But the ones I've seen, they almost like they lift up when the air conditioner comes on.
They do when the fan comes on. It actually
just pushes it. Is that what happens?
Just blows it open. Yeah.
Okay.
That way, when it's not running, the leaves don't drop into it.
I guess that makes sense. Yeah. Is that something some people make by themselves, or? Because I don't even know what I'm looking at. It's a neighbor. He's got it, and I
haven't seen too many of those that people make themselves. Usually the homemade products I've seen are like a piece of screen over it, or a piece of real small diameter chicken wire. I had a customer last week that actually built a framed box that just sat on top of the unit and was wired down with a couple of wires, and I was just able to unwire it and pick the whole thing up. And it worked very well. It had chicken wire over top of the box. But they do make most of those plastic covers that you see raise up. Most of those are made by the manufacturers. They have a special strap that straps in, and they're hinged.
And I guess the common element in today's conversation is maintenance. It sounds like that's what it is. Whether it's cleaning it, keeping the drains open, protecting it from a surge, it's all part of that same umbrella category of maintenance.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Can you talk about the cost of the surge protector? Is that hard to do?
Brandon?
The surge protectors, depending on what kind you get, basically the cost ranges on what kind of insurance policy is attached to the surge protector.
Okay.
Obviously, the cost is lower for our service agreement customers. They get 15% discounts on labor and parts. But I believe they're between $300 and $500 in our books. Installed, they're between $300 and $500, and in most cases you would need 2 of them.
That's a really good price.
They are.
I mean, considering what you're talking about thousands of dollars in damage if you don't have one.
Exactly. I mean, I've seen one board, PC board in just the condenser, or like gas furnaces. The entire furnace is controlled by one PC board. To replace that board, you're talking can possibly be over $1,000 just for that one board. And when you get into units that say are 10, 12 years old, the cost of repair versus replacement just isn't feasible anymore. You certainly don't want to put that much money into a system that's 10 or 12, 14 years old. You start to think about, okay, do I want to put this much money into this system, or for a little bit more I could get an entirely new system?
Can we have a maintenance agreement with you if we did not get our air conditioner from you?
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
Okay, so I wanted to make sure that the listeners knew that. What's your phone number? And if anybody wants to call, they could probably talk to you about what their needs are.
Yeah, 291-0185.
Okay, 291-0185. That phone number is listed on the WOCA website under the guest list for AM Ocala Live at the 10:35 slot every Thursday. You'll see Greg and Brandon's name, as well as some of the other guys who've been in here from Climate Control Mechanical Services. And if you can't write that number down, or you don't use the internet, call us here at the station. We'll be glad to tell you the number over the phone. Thanks again, guys. Always informative.
No problem.
I learn a little bit each week, then I retain a little bit less than that. So you may find me asking the same questions again. Always a good show. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take a little break and be right back.
You're listening to WOCA News Talk 1370, Ocala's source for what's happening in today's hottest, up-to-date news and topics.
Why are so many Florida residents racing to the Walt Disney World theme parks to rediscover their all-time favorite classic attractions and explore what's new? They got a great deal on the 3-day Discover Disney ticket for just $119 plus tax. And why should you be racing to WOCA?